How's it going, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be talking about a recent lawsuit against the California Department of Justice for them delaying background checks here in the state of California. So let's talk about this. But real quick, before we jump in this video, if you think that the California Department of Justice needs to do its job and process background checks within the 10-day period like they're supposed to, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. I also want to give a big shout out to one of the main sponsors of the channel, and that is Franklin Armory. Franklin Armory is an amazing company. They've shown us a lot of support here on the channel. They've helped us spread the word about the Second Amendment and also what is going on here in the state of California with all the lawsuits that we have, as well as they put multiple products out on the market that benefit us here in the state of California. So go over to Franklin Armory's website, go over to their social media accounts and show them support. And I can't thank Franklin Armory enough for supporting this channel. So many of you here in the state of California are probably very familiar about what's been going on recently, and that has to do with the California Department of Justice delaying background checks beyond the traditional 10-day waiting period. And as of recently, the California Department of Justice put out a notice on their website saying that they can take up to 30 days to process background checks. And that has been frequently happening. A lot of people, and if you look at like various Reddit forums and posts, you can see people saying, I got my firearm processed in 20 days. I got my firearm processed in 30 days. Some lucky individuals are still getting it within that 10-day waiting period. And if you've recently purchased a firearm, go ahead and drop in the comments how long it took for the California Department of Justice to process your background check and for you to take possession of that firearm. But right now, the California Department of Justice has pretty much said that they have to have no urgency in processing background checks and that they can take up to 30 days. And with the influx of individuals going out and purchasing firearms and ammunition, the increased delay of background checks is really infringing on our Second Amendment rights here in the state of California. And a lot of people were very upset with the California Department of Justice not upholding their part of the deal. If we are going to have the traditional 10-day waiting period, they need to make sure that they are processing those background checks in that period of time. Especially considering a lot of these people who are having to wait beyond the 10-day waiting period, it's not because they have some sort of red flags popping up in their background checks. It's simply that the California Department of Justice is just not getting to the background checks and they are just simply not processing them. So recently, Firearms Policy Coalition actually filed a lawsuit against the state of California and the California Department of Justice. And you can find this case, and it is cited as Campos v. Becerra. So this is a new lawsuit against the California Department of Justice for them delaying background checks and taking longer than the traditional 10-day period to process background checks. And I'll go ahead and put a link down in the description to the complaint if you want to read it for yourself. And this lawsuit stems completely around the requirement that the California Department of Justice is supposed to process these background checks within 10 days. They are not permitted to extend that background check requirement beyond that 10 days except for very specific situations and scenarios. And so Firearms Policy Coalition, in their complaint against the California Department of Justice, is pretty much saying that the state has grasped on some penal code language improperly, saying that they can have up to 30 days to process these background checks, when in reality, they can only do that in very specific scenarios. So a lot of you are probably really interested in what the California Department of Justice used as their excuse for why they can delay these background checks beyond the 10-day period. And so I'll read for you the notice right here, and it says, under Penal Code Section 28220F4, the Department of Justice has up to 30 days to complete background checks on purchases of firearms and ammunition. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, DOJ typically completed these checks within Penal Code Section 26815A's 10-day waiting period. So California Penal Code 26815A is the requirement here in the state of California that they are supposed to process the background checks within a 10-day period. That is the obligation of the state of California. If they are going to have background checks, they are supposed to and they must process those background checks within 10 days. The statement goes on to say, COVID-19 protective measures have impacted the ability to increase the personnel resources in the DROS unit to address the recent sustained increase in firearms and ammunition transactions without compromising the health and safety of our employees and the community. As a result, firearms and ammunition dealers and purchasers should know that as DOJ employees continue to perform the statutory required background checks throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, circumstances may compel that background checks are completed after the expiration of the 10-day waiting period. DOJ will continue to strive to provide the best service and complete these checks in the shortest time possible. So here, when you see the notice of the California Department of Justice, what they're saying is we have this language in the penal code that says we're supposed to process within 10-day period, but they're using the COVID-19 and the whole virus uproar and health and safety concerns to say that, hey, we can't process the increased firearm sales, ammunition sales within the 10-day period. And also, we are concerned about health and safety. So we're going to take up to 30 days to process these background checks. And so the lawsuit against the California Department of Justice is saying that that is not permitted under California law. Essentially, the California Department of Justice is not following their own rules and regulations. The law specifically states that they are supposed to process this initial background check within 10-day periods. That is an absolute requirement. Only in very specific situations, if something comes up within that first initial check, can they then hold the background check and do an additional processing up to 30 days to figure out what exactly is going for why something was flagged in that initial 10-day period. But the law does not permit them to pretty much extend out that initial background check up to 30 days. They are supposed to at least check that initial check within the 10-day period. And that is traditionally when most of us will be able to take possession of our firearm, is within that 10-day period, and we'll clear that 10-day period because we don't have any sort of felony or criminal record. There is no sort of mental issue that has popped up on our background checks. So most traditional people and lawful individuals who are purchasing firearms will clear that initial check within that 10-day period that is required. Only in rare circumstances, or if you're a prohibited person, will you pretty much fail that initial check, and then the California Department of Justice will further evaluate, and they have up to 30 days. But the state of California is saying that they are going to use the entire 30 days and pretty much not process our background checks because they say they not only are so slammed by all the firearms purchases and ammunition purchases, but also because of the virus concerns, they can't process within this time period that they set for themselves. And the lawsuit pretty much is just asking that the California courts essentially require and force the California Department of Justice to do their job. That is pretty much what this whole lawsuit is about, is California Department of Justice. We have these laws in the state of California. We have these regulations in the state of California that pretty much you set for yourself. You're not doing your job, and now we have to go to the court system to force you to do what you're supposed to do. And that is what pretty much this whole case is about. And in reality, the state of California is simply using the virus and health concerns as an excuse to not process the influx of firearms purchases and ammunition purchases. The state of California, it's no secret that they do not like firearms. They don't want people purchasing firearms, and they probably definitely don't want people purchasing firearms right now with everything that's going on. They don't want people to take their own safety within their own hands by buying firearms and purchasing ammunition and stuff like that. They pretty much want all the control, and we can see that by the policies that they've instituted over this last year and with the continued lockdowns and stuff like that. So the state of California didn't want people purchasing firearms. We saw them try to shut down various counties and stuff like that as far as firearms purchases, as well as all the additional legislation that we've gotten this year during all these health concerns and COVID concerns and all that stuff. It hasn't stopped the California legislators from passing gun control laws. So we know what their motives are, and they are just using the virus as an excuse to push out background checks beyond the required 10-day period. So I definitely want to thank Firearms Policy Coalition for doing this lawsuit against the state of California, essentially forcing them or trying to force them to do their jobs here in the state of California, and advocating for us and trying to actually get firearms in the hands of people who are trying to purchase them right now, instead of people having to wait up to 30 days to purchase and possess something when traditionally we already had to wait 10-day periods. It's very ridiculous that not only is the 10-day period not feasible for the state of California, now they're saying that we have to wait almost up to 30 days. A lot of people, and some people right now, are having to wait up to 30 days. And it's ridiculous that we have to wait 30 days to actually have our Second Amendment rights here in the state of California. If you like this video and like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to join the Patreon page, and I'll also put a link to the Patreon page down in the details. Also, just like, commenting, subscribing, and make sure you hit the notification bell, because that helps spread the word about the Second Amendment and what we have to deal with here in the state of California. So as always, thanks you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.